Coming to you live
From the heart.
from the heart drive.
Yeah. Internet magic with a K.
Disciples of conjecture, rejoice and settle in for another gripping episode of Fruitless Pursuits.
And we've talked about this a few times. We've faked our way through a discussion of this album, so I think it's only fair to talk for real about the Mars Volta.
Holy
and
shit!
Their self-titled record, and I challenge anyone out there to listen to it and not fall in love. Like, good luck, because it's amazing. Amazing,
it really is. It's fantastic, and like you said, we had caught the first couple tracks. They released 3 singles off that record, and we were kind of enamored with what we heard. And then you hear the whole record and you're like, holy shit, that's not even the best stuff on the record, as
Absolutely.
it often is with singles, right? So there's beginning to finish, it is it's quickly become my favorite Mars Volta record, and it treads such a different path from what they've done in the past, and it shows growth in like a competent and relevant way that a lot of older bands that are coming back to the fold can't quite seem to recapture. It's really just an amazing feat.
Yeah, no, I think that is a tremendous way to look at it. Perhaps the fault that Mars Volta suffered early on was, an egotism in music. I don't think you ever saw them like clamoring for the spotlight. I mean, you go back and look, and they were like, the core of what Mars Volta always was and is now are, we're always doing these. Thank you.
Yeah.
Always doing these other projects. That's a dub record, this and that. And they were all over the place, and I think they were trying to prove something for a long time, and I think they've stopped doing that. I think they made a record that they really like, and that was, like less bells and whistles than ever before. And I think that really is. It's less. It's there aren't distractions on this record. It's just good songs.
Yeah,
production, good writing.
Yes, they've taken all those elements that we loved about the earlier records and in some way distilled them down to like, I think you're right. I think it shows like we don't have to do an extended 14-minute version of this song to demonstrate our abilities or our songwriting prowess. It's like, here's the meat of it. This is the good stuff, and we're just going to distill it down to this, and then we're going to move into the next song, because that was one of the things that they often, in the lead up to this album being released, people were reporting that the length of the songs on this record are drastically shorter than almost the entirety of their previous catalog. So, which is true. And it's nice to have these, 2.5, 3 minute pop tinged nuggets of just fucking candy that you can dig into, and then you get your fill, and then it's on to the next song. And it just, the record, the sequencing on it flows effortlessly. It is a complete work.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just a complete work. It sounds like songs that you've like should have heard before.
Yeah.
There's this, I think I called it like that late 80s, like John Hughes, like prom music or whatever. There's something so tangibly real to it, but like from another universe or something. Like it's songs we've heard before, but we haven't. And
there's something oddly familiar, but
yes,
you can't quite put your finger on it, and that's intriguing, and that's what gets you through like the maybe the initial listens of the record, and then the more you listen to it, the more you go, man, this is really just a masterpiece. And at this point, I've been listening to it for probably close to a month, maybe a little bit longer. I would put it right next to Deloused or Francis the Mute in the pantheon of things the Mars Volta have done. I think it's, like I said, it's rapidly become my favorite record, and probably because of the newness of it, and I've listened to those records, those other ones that I mentioned so extensively, to hear something that's new that grabs my attention in this way. It's just been a really long time since I've gotten a new record and been this enthused about it.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. Well, and a new record by an old band, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like several times, most often when you get this feeling, it's like all of it's new. The artist, the record, like it just comes at you in this slam dunk of action. And this was such a slow burn that, like, I don't know, that's that own way, it was a surprise. You know what I mean? Like you could hear it for a long time coming at you, and then once it finally arrived, it was much more than you had expected. There's an interesting quote that's a trip. Well, I guess it's taken from an interview with Mr. Rodríguez-López. He was looking at like David Bowie, Phil Collins, and Peter Gabriel and Paul Weller, and the way their careers transitioned from this experimental work to a mainstream success.
Yeah,
and kind of like looking at that, and I'm so surprised and not by using templates like that as a through way to like kind of continuing their work.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but it makes a ton of sense.
It does, and I mean, especially Phil Collins, right? You have someone who's like, I don't know, pretty underrated in my opinion, especially when you look at his late 70s, early 80s pop stuff. Like to me, that's it, He's just a really wealthy songwriter and great at that stuff. And I think that's kind of forgotten in our current swirl. But I love that they're using that, because I've also heard them say that this was the most punk thing they could do, is write this record instead of trying to continue on the track they were on. But man, I love this record. I think it's amazing. I think it's great. But for me, just because of listening to this so much, I listened to Deloused, and it's been several times now since. From beginning to end, and it's still amazing.
That's a game changer.
Such a great record,
100%. And there's a reason that
it doesn't.
That they're touring now, and I saw them a couple weeks ago, and let me just say, if they're coming to your city and you have the opportunity, go and pay extra for good seats, because it's 100% worth it. Those guys are really invested in what they're doing. They show a real appreciation for the crowd and the fans and the people that have put them in the position that they are to be able to put out a record like this. It's very evident in the way that they perform. But what surprised me was the set list, at least in Atlanta and from others that I've seen, is really primarily made up of Deloused and Francis material.
Right.
There was, I think they played Graveyard Love in Atlanta, and that may have been the only track that they played off the new record, which to me was a little disappointing. But it was also cool because that was when all the other people like put their phones down finally, and I could see what was going on. So it was the best concert I've seen in a very, very long time. It was an incredible performance. Their backing band is Trump tight. They just fucking brought it. And Omar sounds incredible. He's still hitting all those notes. And like, I've seen videos of them in the past, and I think we've talked about it before, but he's the X factor of whether or not it's going to be a good performance.
You mean Cedric? I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude.
I said Omar. Yes, Cedric.
Okay, cool. I assume so. Excuse me.
Yes. Thank you for correcting me. Yes, but in the past, like when you see videos of them, there are amazing performances and there are lackluster performances, and that seems to be the variable that makes the most difference.
Absolutely, and I think it's underexplained how, excuse me, or it's not understood well how much pressure is on a singer to perform, even where you think the singing maybe it's not technical or not, like something that, it's not Barbra Streisand, right?
Bad example.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean, but that's very technical singing.
Okay.
You know, where you have someone like that, like Cedric, who's performing these, you know, like really they're complicated, you know.
Yeah.
If you wake up and you're not feeling that good, you slept with the windows open like I did, and you're congested, and it's not gonna be good, and that concert's on you, you know.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Old ragweed boy over there.
I know, right? Excuse me. It felt good though. Bad idea for a podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway,
indeed.
But I do think it's lovely and a great record that everyone should listen to.